Welcome to the world-renowned Invest in Her podcast with your host, Catherine Gray. Catherine is a keynote and TEDx speaker, author, executive producer of the movie Show Her the Money, also CEO and founder of She Angel Investors and co-founder of the She Angels Foundation. Our weekly show of powerhouse women, founders, funders, and changemakers is sure to inspire you. Let's go.
Welcome to this week's episode of Invest in Her. I'm your host, Catherine Gray, founder of She Angel Investors and co-founder of the She Angels Foundation, as well as executive producer of Show Her the Money, the movie that's out and about right now. We've been on a 100-city tour, and hopefully you visited the website. If you haven't seen the movie, it's showherthemoneymovie.com, and then you can find out where we'll be and even book a screening for your group. So be sure to catch that. And today, as always, we have an amazing guest. We love having on experts in this arena. Actually, our guest today was one of the top 100 women of the future from Global Village Publishing. She is also a Silicon Valley woman of influence and a serial entrepreneur. Let's welcome to the show, Radhika Iyengar. Did I say that right?
Radhika Iyengar.
Iyengar. Okay. So Radhika, so good to have you here. And yeah, I know your expertise is in AI and Web3, and everybody's super obviously, interested in this topic today because it's such a important part of what's happening in the business world and really in every aspect of our life, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, great spaces to be in. We're actually very, very focused on the AI data intelligence piece, which is kind of a specialized area under the umbrella of AI. A lot of folks exploring different things in AI. And we're also, it's something that we've done projects in, we've written about, et cetera. We can talk a little bit more about the book, but we actually wrote about that back in 2019, predicting that, it wasn't just going to be one single technology that's going to be part of an enterprise stack that's going to have really impactful solutions. We talked about the convergence of multiple advanced technologies, two of which are,
right.
AI and blockchain.
Well, we're going to dumb this down for me and my listeners, but people can actually pick up the book, The Top 100 Women of the Future, and you are in that, which is super cool. Star Chain Ventures, you are a co-founder of that. And yeah, see that beautiful book. And, as a co-founder of Star Chain Ventures, you all focus on this venture lab that you have, which you started back in 2018. Tell us about the venture lab. How do people participate in that? And what does the venture lab do?
Great question. Yes, we actually started this as an effort to really understand many different aspects of the technology that we were working with at the time. It was a lot of spotlight on crypto and Web3, and we actually deep dove into the blockchain technology aspects of it. So, under the Venture Lab, we're many things. So we have a foundry where we spin up our own companies and our own projects, and we incubate those and release those. We also are an R&D lab, and this is a little bit about that research and development side of things, because we really wanted to deep dive, build things ourselves, figure out, what's possible, what's not, stress test things in the lab, so to speak, since that's our whole background is in advanced technologies, and we've been serial entrepreneurs ourselves, and so this is something we love to do. And then lastly, we also strategically advise companies, largely startups, and we really guide them on the technical aspects of what they're working on, as well as business aspects of what they're working on. Really, the whole idea is to back founders to help them accelerate their growth faster, to maximize their potential in what they're doing.
And is this companies, the ones that you back, are they all in the space of AI and Web3?
Largely, yes. My colleague and I have actually been doing this for, as a team for the last 10 plus years. And over that time, we've strategically advised about 25 different companies, which collectively raised about $900 million. And 5 of those companies experienced some notable success. There was an IPO and 2 acquisitions by large brands, and then 2 others became unicorns. And so total about $4 billion of shareholder value that was created through this. So it's all about accelerating their growth in that ecosystem and really maximizing their potential, like I mentioned. So, and a lot of that, those companies, especially the winners, as we say, amongst that 25, happen to be in the area of AI, data intelligence. Some of the ones that we've worked with have also been in the Web3 arena.
I see. Now, you wrote a book called Enterprise Blockchain Has Arrived, and it's a #1 Amazon bestseller. And tell me about that book and why you wrote it and what it's about, because blockchain really is a major part of enterprise now. Let's talk about that. So why did you write the book and what is it about exactly?
Another great question. So actually, rewind just a little bit. In 2017, we were getting really closely involved with the Web3 space and the movement. And in 2018, over like a 9-month period between my co-founder and myself, we spoke at over 100 conferences, and we were very actively on the public speaking circuit. We were keynoting many conferences as well, tech conferences, both here in Silicon Valley as well as abroad. And what we started to see was this thread and this body of work that just was starting to emerge and really forming our thesis, our central view into what the far-reaching aspects of this technology are. So in 2019, we decided, we think this is a good time to put it all together. And putting it together, we were writing extensively and publishing articles, etc. It's not just stitching together presentations and articles individually. It's about really creating a whole storyline around it and looking at the big arc of what we were trying to communicate. And really the idea is to communicate that foundational technologies like these, we've seen them being birthed, by the way, and it's happened many times. This is not the unique phenomenon. Back in the day, I was involved in the transition from analog to digital, we were looking at that time in a semiconductors company for what the implication of internet as a technology was going to be. And that was decades long into the future. And so this was that sort of deja vu moment where we figured this is a technology that enterprise can adopt. And there's really great use cases that come out of this. So the book essentially is it's a premise, it's a thesis, it's a vision into what this technology in combination with other technologies like AI or IoT, for example, and what that
Wait a minute, what's IoT? What's that?
Internet of Things.
Internet of Things. Okay,
Yeah.
I bet a lot of people didn't know that.
So it's still something that's out there. If you've ever worn a wearable, that's an Internet of Thing.
Okay.
So there's many devices that are out there, right? This is a multi-device kind of society we live in. There are multiple connection points into what forms this grand connectivity that we take for granted, actually, these days. So all of these things are part of that conversation. And we were really looking at what the convergence of these technologies, what that would mean for enterprise. And so the book was, in essence, our view on how these technologies reshape and transform industries. We put a spotlight on 27 different use cases for this technology for enterprise, focusing largely on 3 different major sectors. One is financial services and banking, the other being healthcare, life sciences, and then the last area being supply chain and logistics. We explored some other areas as well, power and energy, government technology, a bunch of other areas, and blockchain for good as well. So there's a whole theme throughout this book, and it's really, you can think of it as a triparter, because it's actually a pretty big book. I'll put it up so people can see it. But it is, it's got 3 different sections, and the first section talks about, really the internet of trust. What is trust? We live in a very digital world, and after COVID, I think completely digital. Yeah. So, what does that mean? I know you, Catherine, you know me a little bit too. how do we develop trust if we are going to do business? How do we establish digital trust? You know, a lot of times.
And does blockchain create trust?
Absolutely. So it's a technology that really forms a secure and private sort of layer around data. It establishes a trust layer, and then some would call it a single source of truth because it's one ledger, which is immutable, which means that you can't change anything on it. It's unalterable. If you have to amend it, then that's an amendment on the record. So it's very, very good at auditing and developing this trail, this unbroken trail, therefore causing a high degree of trust because now it's just one source on the ledger and no one can tamper with it. So, you know, this whole notion of how do we establish digital trust? That's really something that the book explores. The other aspect is the Internet of Value. And if you look at many of the use cases that people are more familiar with on the Web3 side, people tend to equate Web3 as just being crypto. Think of crypto as one application of the technology. Web3 is sort of, and blockchain is the underlying technology. And then you have different use cases. So crypto is a use case. It's an actual application of the technology. So when things of that nature.
So what are other use cases that people would be familiar with?
That's why we wrote the book. And so there's 27 different use cases that we actually highlighted. You can use it for banking, for example, in payments. That's an area that many people can think about. Today, if you want to send money, first of all, it really comes down to the relationship between those banks. If you're trying to send money, that bank has to have a corresponding relationship with your bank has to have a corresponding relationship with the other bank. If they don't have a direct relationship, how do they do that? Well, they have to go then to a central bank and they have to go through other parties. And so that's why when you're sometimes sending money abroad, it takes a long time. It doesn't just happen instantaneously. So with things, with rails on blockchain, I'll just, you know, keep it non-technical. And I'll just say that with rails on blockchain, you can almost instantaneously send money. It's kind of like having the Zelle or Venmo kind of capability, but that capability is residing on no direct relationship needed for two parties to do business.
So you could send it directly to Europe in an instant instead of waiting days.
Correct. So, you know, instead of waiting for that amount to be verified and validated every step of the chain, and then, okay, now we've established that trust, now we can send the money over. This is almost an instantaneous trust. So this is, it's a game changer, because when you think about applications, and, you know, some of the largest adopters of blockchain actually happen to be large financial institutions, tier one institutions that are moving trillions of dollars at any one given time, and don't necessarily want to wait, you know.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
So that's a use case. But there's many others areas in healthcare, in life sciences, you know, in supply chains. Today, even with the advent of tariffs and all what's going on, we're already seeing the impact of that. Supply chains are struggling to keep up with how do we stock the shelves. It's no longer in stock. You might want to come back next week. I mean, we saw that happen during the pandemic. And the reason is because supply chains are very complex chains. They're very, you know.
So are you saying that this enterprise blockchain, AI, Web3 are solutions to that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There you go.
And, you know, in when you think about supply chains, hundreds of suppliers and vendors that are in a transaction chain, if you will, right? And if you have to bring all of those people together for all of those steps in the supply chain to occur so that the product is there at the right time, at the right place, and now you can purchase it off the shelf, a lot has to go on. And today, traditional industries really struggle with doing that efficiently and bringing transparency to the process too. A lot of people can fudge their data, et cetera. And so if you really want transparency and accuracy around the movement of data, if you will, that's a great use case for blockchain. And
so that's what blockchain does, is helps expedite those things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, cool. Now, you know, I saw that you all had worked with Governor Newsom's task force in this arena. And it's funny, I just want to mention, we just were in Sacramento showing our Show
Yep.
Her the Money film to the senators there and to his first partner, Jennifer Newsom. And I know they have lots of great task force in the works. One, of course, to help fund women entrepreneurs. In your case, you were working with them on a task force about responsible Web3 applications. I think people are going to have the same question I do, and that is, what are responsible Web3 applications? What does that mean?
Well, it's responsible is a really important really important term to understand. First of all, we don't want to be irresponsible with technology. We don't want to develop things in a vacuum and say, oops, we didn't mean to do that. Something went wrong. That was not intended, but then the harm has already been done, right? So anytime we approach technology and we develop anything, as the saying goes, with great power comes great responsibility. So something that I want to really underscore is when you develop anything with anything that can have great power or impact, think thoughtfully about how you're developing this. So the whole purpose of having this task force, the creation of this task force, was to explore what the state of California could do with this technology. And the entire premise was to develop use cases for California to adopt this technology for the benefit of its 40 million residents. Obviously, it has to be safe for consumers to use this. Safety is a huge focus and issue, right? It's actually an issue across many different technologies. We can talk about the issues with AI that is going on. So in any event, this particular task force was created to advise California state legislature and obviously the governor too, in terms of what the implications of the use of this technology would be, and what the applications would be for California specifically. So it's a 21-member task force that was created during 2019 and 2020. We really worked together as a team to explore, what does this technology mean for the state of California? Why does California need to look at it, and what can California gain out of this? And so as a group, we split up. We had multiple subtask units, if you will, in that task force, and we were each working on different aspects of use cases that would be very relevant to California. And I'll just fast forward and I'll say that we're really, really happy that as a result of the efforts that we put in between 2019 and 2020, new law was passed in California. So Governor Newsom passed a bill and passed into law, basically giving all Californians the right to have their vital records on the blockchain. Why would a government want to do that? Well, vital records are super important. They carry pieces of our identity, right? So birth certificates, marriage certificates, change of name, legal status, anything that you can conduct with a state. The state is the bona fide issuer of that record, right? They create that. But ultimately, you have a right to have access to that record because it defines something about you. And by the way, you do want it to be accurate. You don't want fraud to be committed. There's a lot of identity theft that's happening. So the state actually wants an authentic, verifiable, trusted record about an event that happened, right? Whether it's a birth, a change of status, in any type of vital record that pertains to you as a person. So it's really important that California and the governor has had the foresight to pass this law, which gives us as Californians incredible advantages and privileges that I think that other states hopefully will follow suit and do something similar in this.
As much grief as California gets, we usually lead the way in many ways.
We are a bellwether state for many, many
years. And then once we accomplish it, the others do,
follow us.
So we are leaders in many arenas, and certainly, I'm sure, in the Web3 applications like you're talking about.
Yeah, there was actually another use case that came out of that, and all of this was, by the way, detailed in our roadmap. Anybody can look it up. There's a report that was published. All of our hearings are public. Everything is public, and we invited public participation in this process as well at every step of the way. The other use case was the Department of Motor Vehicles. The DMV partnered up with Tezos blockchain to start creating great DMV records on a blockchain. So this is, again, number one, an important use case because, again, we want authentic, verifiable, trusted records issued by the government. And this is our identity. We carry this to authenticate ourselves all the time. We use it for travel. Now there's a real ID that we have to have for travel. Right?
So, and this is all of these changes are due to blockchain, enterprise blockchain, Web3,
exactly.
Correct?
Exactly.
So these have all improved those things.
Exactly.
And so people need to understand how it works, how it's here, it's not going away, and how to utilize it right in their own businesses. And I would take it that leading back to your venture lab, that you would be backing companies that are creating things in this space and also helping companies adapt these new technologies, right?
Absolutely. So I think, one last point on the card, I wanted to underscore that it's a digital version of, let's say, your driver's license. If you could have an authentic driver's license, but it's now on your phone, and that becomes your actual official record equivalent to your card, that's pretty game changing. So it's all about
I've been seeing that at the airport, the digital
record.
license.
Exactly. So trust around digital records, trust around digital transactions are really what this technology offers. And in our venture lab, we're super bullish on what this technology can accomplish for enterprise. We love backing companies and working with companies that are active in the space and are looking, and not just in this area, but in AI and data intelligence, which is an area of focus for us. But at the end of the day, it's garbage in, garbage out, right? So the best of AI can be incredible, but if you can't have good data going into it, your results are not going to be great either. So,
right. I've heard with AI, a lot of it has been conceptualized by men. And so it has very little input from women. And so when you go to ask something, it will have like kind of a jaded answer that is male oriented. So there definitely are flaws with all of this. But what I like about Radika, that you're talking about is the positive usages of everything from blockchain to Web3. And I think it's hard for the average person to even comprehend what these things are, but giving these practical usages of them is certainly a great lesson in all of this and where it's going. And I know that you speak on different topics. You've spoken at Stanford, Harvard, UCLA, and others about utilizing these things for personalized medicine, for pharma chain supply, blockchain security, identity management. So it's used in so many capacities. So you really are in the right place at the right time, on the cutting edge of all this. No wonder you're Silicon Valley woman of influence. So I love that you bring this topic to the table today. Hope we gave our audience some takeaways. How do people find you, Radika? I take it you're on LinkedIn, and how do they find StarChain Ventures?
You can go to starchain.vc. It's out there. It'll talk a lot about the efforts that we've done through the Venture Lab, many of the projects that we've been involved with and backed. You can also find me on LinkedIn. I'm not so much on other social media platforms. I do have a presence on X, but I don't heavily participate. But LinkedIn is probably a good space for people to find me.
Great. Same with me. So you can find either Radika or myself, and I'm going to spell both our names because some people are just listening to the audio and not watching. So it is Radika, Radhika, and her last name is spelled Iyengar. And of course, mine is Catherine Gray, Catherine with a C, Gray with an A. You can also visit our website, sheangelinvestors.com, to find resources about everything from fundraising to becoming an investor in venture capital. And then, of course, our movie site, showherthemoneymovie.com, also filled with resources. So be sure to check out starchain.vc and find Radika and I on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thanks for a great interview, Radika. Have a great day, everybody.